Hi there my friends, and thanks for coming back to my videos if you've watched my videos before, or thanks for checking out this one if it's the first one you've looked at. So this recipe is going to be Seitan burgers, American Italian sort of style. But the beauty of this recipe is it's absolutely versatile. Feel free to change all the spices, just keep the seitan mixture etc the same, and you'll still get a wonderful burger but a completely different taste set. Same goes with the beans, feel free to change the beans and you're going to get a slightly different flavour set as well. The two beans I tend to flip between is the black beans and kidney beans. They're the two main ones, but feel free to try other beans, I'm sure they're all going to do fine. So without further ado, let's crack on, let's make some seitan burgers.
So first up on our list of preparations is to drain one 400 gram can of black beans. And once drained, we want to add that to our food processor. And then we want to whiz this until it's relatively smooth. Doesn't need to be completely smooth because we'll be adding more wet ingredients which will help it get it completely smooth. But to start the process off, whiz it until it's relatively smooth. And next up, we want to measure out 250 millilitres of water. And then immediately add that to our food processor with the already whizzed beans. And then it's time to add 1 tablespoon of liquid smoke. Now I use this brand which can buy a huge big plastic bottle of it and then transfer some of it into the bourbon bottle as you see, and it's far cheaper per milliliter to use this, which I use a lot of, than buying those little small bottles that you get in the major supermarkets. Same with the soy sauce, by and large makes it substantially cheaper. So it's 3 tablespoons of soy sauce directly into the food processor as well. And the last of our wet ingredients is olive oil. 3 tablespoons, once again, directly into the food processor. And return your bowl to its base and we're going to whiz until very smooth. If need be, go in with a spatula just to clear off any of the beans that have stuck to the edge. It can happen, but it doesn't always happen, and whiz until very smooth. And now we want to prepare our dry ingredients. First up is Vital Wheat Gluten, and we're looking for 205 grams, which equates to 1.5 cups. Next up is tapioca flour. If you can't get tapioca flour, substitute it directly 1:1 for corn flour. But 45 grams of tapioca flour is what we're looking to add, which I should add equates to 4.5 tablespoons. And now we're looking to add onion powder, and we're looking for 1.5 teaspoons of onion powder and add it to the same bowl as the rest of our dry ingredients. And next is our garlic powder, which is also 1.5 teaspoons in the same bowl. And now it's our sweet paprika, and we're looking for 3 teaspoons of sweet paprika. Paprika itself is sweet paprika if you just see it labelled as paprika. And now our whole fennel seeds, and we're looking for 2.25 teaspoons, and again to the same bowl as the rest of the dry ingredients. And we are also looking for some ground fennel. You can buy it in a bottle if you prefer, but I prefer to grind my own fennel. Any of these sort of hard seeds, I tend to prefer to grind them. You get a much bigger flavour oomph if you do it yourself. So if you have a tool to do it, then certainly grind it yourself. I like using this little bullet contraption. It's 1.5 teaspoons of the seed directly into the bullet. You can also do it with a mortar and pestle, but these hard seeds, they take a considerable amount of time compared to doing it in something like a bullet. And once ground, again, add it to the same bowl as the rest of your dry ingredients. Just make sure that you remove anything that may be stuck to the sides. And the last of our main ingredients is our table salt and ground pepper, and we are looking for 3/4 of a teaspoon of each. And now we have our 2 optional ingredients, which is our chili flakes and our cayenne pepper. You play about with these to get to the heat level you want. We have to limit ourselves now because my wife is unfortunately developing an intolerance to the chili, so we limit ourselves to 1/2 teaspoon of the chili flakes. but in reality you can go up to about 1.5 teaspoons of chili flakes and about 3/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. After that it gets a bit too hot, I think. Largely because at those heat levels you start to lose all the other flavours and it just becomes about the heat. So up to that, but I certainly wouldn't go past it. And now that we've got all our dry ingredients in a bowl, we want to take and add it to our food processor bowl. And now we're going to whiz this at a medium-low speed, and we're going to whiz it for about a minute until all the ingredients have combined and come together and we've got a seitan dough within the actual bowl. And once we have that seitan dough, if you have a dough hook attachment for your food processor, we're going to take and we're going to swap out the blade attachment and we're going to use the dough hook attachment. If you don't, we're going to continue to use the blade attachment unless you prefer to knead this stage by hand. And now we're going to turn the machine on for about 4 or 5 minutes at a low sort of kneading speed, and we're going to do this until we've got the long gluten strands throughout the entire dough. We don't want it too firm, we don't want far too many gluten strands, so 45 minutes does it, so we've still got a nice loose dough at the very end. And just whilst that's combining, we can prepare our tinfoil sheets. We're looking for 6 reasonable sized tinfoil sheets, enough to basically cover the dough and have a little bit of excess in the folds over so nothing's going to escape. And we then want to take our tinfoil and try and find its very centre over the centre of the ring. If you need to move it about a little bit, do so. Gently press in the very centre spot and then keeping your fingers holding it down, press round the rest of the edges to the internal edges of our muffin rings, which are 10.5cm rings. And once fully formed round all the edges, give it a spritz or two with some cooking oil just to add a little bit of lubrication to the tinfoil. By now our seitan dough should be ready, so we're going to take and we're going to transfer that back into the bowl that we had all of our dry ingredients in, and we're going to weigh it. It should be somewhere in the 900 gram range. We are going to divide it by 6, and the divided number is going to be what our individual burgers weigh, but they'll be about 150 grams or about 1/3 of a pound. So using a dough knife, just split your seitan up until we have the appropriate portion sizes. As I say, about the 150 up to about 152 grams is where it generally works out. Once you've got that, take it off the scales and give it a quick knead just by folding it over on top of itself from edge to edge, back and forward, until you feel some tension forming within the seitan dough. Once you've got that tension, just pinch it together and transfer it into one of your readily prepared tinfoil rings. To fold the rings, press the seitan slightly down into itself so it forms round all the edges. Then take one corner and sort of fold it diagonally across, move over to the next corner and keep folding whilst trying to keep the tinfoil pressed tightly round the edges. Keep working round in a circle till you do all 4 corners, gently pressing them back on themselves. Try not to let any of the seitan rise up as you squeeze down, so keep it flat as you go. Then press it down really tightly to give it a good seal. And now we're going to add them to a very large cooking pan. This one holds 5 litres of water. I add 4 litres of cool water, and we're going to add them whilst the water is still cool, and we're going to bring it up to the boil from here. We do it this way just so we don't burn or scald our hands in overly hot water as we're trying to arrange them, because they do take up a considerable amount of room, so this is the safest way I find of doing it. And whilst it's coming to the boil, we're going to cover them with a lid. When it reaches a rolling boil, turn the temperature down slightly to a high simmer, and we're going to continue to cook for 45 minutes. You'll see your rings and your seitan all moving around, even flipping over in the pan, absolutely fine. And the little bits that stick out, again, it's not a problem because the steam build up in there helps it cook, plus everything is rolling around. And once our 45 minutes are over, we're going to remove it from the heat and then we're going to transfer them someplace to drain. I like using my dishes draining rack. Just make sure that the folded parts of the tin foil is facing down so any of the water from cooking that's seeped into the tin foil gets a chance to drain out. We're going to leave these there to cool completely. You're then going to stick them in the fridge and let them firm up further before we cook them. I generally make them a few days in advance, or I freeze them because they're a fantastic burger to keep in the freezer until you want one. And when we are ready to cook them, we need to make our burger ingredients. So I like adding some sliced tomato, either one big beef tomato if you can get them, but my supermarket seems to be struggling to get a hold of them at the minute. So optionally you can also use a salad tomato. Just slice it into the appropriate amount of parts for however many people are having burgers. There's 3 of us, so we're slicing it to get 6 equal parts for 3 burgers. And the rolls I'm using here are my own rolls because your own rolls are always better than shop bought rolls. They really are a difference maker with your own burgers. Yeah, you can buy shop bought ones if that's the way you want to go to save time, but if you do have the time to make your own rolls, highly recommend it. They're just far superior to anything in any shop I've ever had. But whichever way you go, you want to give your rolls a quick toast. If you've got a bagelize option, use that in your sort of standalone toaster. If not, do it in the grill on your top oven. When toasting buns, I find it's better to do them on a medium rather than a high setting most of the time, as it leads to a much lighter toasting and any chance of burning the edges is greatly reduced. And once your buns are out, leave your grill on again at medium heat because we're going to be cooking these burgers at a medium rather than a high heat on the grill. It allows a overall better cooking right through without the risk again of charring or burning the outer sides of the burgers, just like the rolls. And whilst the burgers are cooking under the grill, which we're going to be doing for 9 minutes each side, we can add the condiments to our buns. Be generous but not too generous that your sauces drown out all your flavour, but we're going to add some ketchup. Again, to prevent overpowering of any one flavour, we're going to add mustard, but we're going to add a much lesser amount of mustard than we added ketchup. And to the base, I either add Gouda or Emmental. I feel they're good cheeses for the base. Don't know why, but I do. And on the lid of our rolls, I'm going to add mayonnaise, about the same amount of mayonnaise as we had ketchup. And Monterey Jack is my cheese of choice for putting on the top, or if you can get some good vegan cheeses that aren't extortionate, certainly go with them as well. And now to the base we can add our tomato. If it's a beef tomato, it's one nice big chunky slice you would see here. Because it's a salad tomatoes, it's 2 slices per burger. And rather than continuing to assemble on your chopping board, I find it best to transfer to your dinner plates before you assemble the next part. Now, I saw a show years ago where Jamie Oliver had said he despises iceberg lettuce. Well, poor Jamie Oliver, I love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic on burgers. It just adds a beautiful crunch, and that's the way I go. It's generally one nice big leaf per burger. It absolutely does help though if you just shred it a little with your hand, so each leaf or each shredding of the leaf is around the size of your burger lid. And by this point your 9 minutes should be up and you can bring out your burgers, and we're just going to flip them and then we're going to cook them again still at a medium heat for another 9 minutes under the grill. And once our 9 minutes are up, we're going to take and we're going to transfer using tongs our burgers over onto the base of our burger rolls. And then we're going to enjoy them. I generally serve them with chips, but I didn't think you really need to see me putting chips on a plate here.
So there we go. American Italian Seitan burgers. But the beauty of this recipe, I've made it as American Italian, it is so goddamn versatile. You can really change up the spices in this and get a completely different burger. It's so versatile, it's dead easy. Just take out what you don't want, put in something else, and you end up with a completely different flavour set. The other way of doing that is change the beans. The black beans give a really earthy taste. The kidney beans, which I also suggest in the recipe, give a completely different taste just by changing the beans. Texture's about the same, it is slightly different, but it's about the same, but the taste is radically different. My son and my wife absolutely prefer the black beans. I prefer the kidney beans, but because it's 2 versus 1, we normally make it with the black beans. So all that's left to do is for me to tuck in. So let's get on with this and have a wee bite of it. But first of all, look at that. Beautiful big burger. Bit big a bite. Absolutely lovely. Totally gives me that hit of meat. I've got very similar, sorry, I've got other seitan recipes for making burgers, is what I'm trying to say. This is probably my favourite because the ease it is to make it. The other ones I've got are more complicated and they give a similar hit. I don't know if it's a better hit or a worse hit, but it's a similar hit. So this is my easiest recipe for making burgers, and it absolutely gives a fantastic hit, and it's also damn versatile. Is it meat? No, because we're not trying to completely make meat, but it is very similar and it absolutely satisfies that meat hit. So give it a hit, give it a try. Tell me what you think, and thanks for watching. And as I've said before, I really do appreciate all your feedback. I really appreciate the views. So thanks for watching, and you stay safe. Take care. All the best.